It's like, for me, what's to disagree about? Right? But of course, we know we have people who do. But when they do, like you could say the Trinitarians, right? They don't have an explicit statement of their three persons as the one God like we do. They don't have an explicit statement of their metaphysic, three persons sharing the nature of one God, like we do. Jesus is the copy of the nature of God, of his being, Hebrews 1:3. Jesus is the firstborn, Hebrews 1:6. We can even define what firstborn means in all non-figurative instances, Deuteronomy 21:17. So the Bible uses these terms just really explicitly and plainly for us. We don't have to wonder off of the biblical track what's going on. It's the same with something like begotten and created. Right? I have a whole series kind of going on that, because the Trinitarians make an issue out of that, and some others may too, but they can't have, not because of the Bible, but because of their later doctrine, they can't have the Son of God being a real firstborn, or they can't have a temporal, time-based separation between the Father and the Son, even though that's like a very common association and relationship presented to us and that we have ourselves, according to how we're made. Right, so the Bible doesn't, for example, tell us begotten is different from created. You see what I'm saying? That if the Bible said, well, Jesus is begotten but not created, okay, well, even if we don't understand that, at least it's explicitly stated. You know what I'm saying? If it doesn't say that, it not only refers to him as the beginning of God's creation, Revelation 3:14, it not only states that the life that the Father has is given to him, John 5:26, he's said to be the wisdom of Proverbs 8, where create and beget are used in parallel sequence. And create and beget and made, they're all used, as I've shown in those videos on that subject, in the same sense, almost everywhere, right? There's no difference that's explicitly stated to be the case where it concerns those terms. So a person might believe begotten is different from created, but where's that in the Bible? You see what I'm saying? If it's not in the Bible, well, okay, it's an interesting view you have there, but why do you have that view? If the Bible doesn't tell you that that's the view, why are you viewing it that way? See, it would have to be something else, wouldn't it? Because if it's not explicit in the Bible, something else is telling you that's what the Bible means, even though it doesn't tell you that's what it means. See what I'm saying? So even a complex issue like begotten or created, right? It seems complex because it's like, well, is there a difference? If it's not explicitly said to involve a difference in the Bible, and if those terms are used in parallel sequence, like in Proverbs 8, or in other texts like in Matthew 1 or Genesis 6, where it talks about humans who are begotten as created, given a start to life, well, then, there's what's there to argue about? You see what I'm saying? You can argue about it. I mean, you can get, you can talk about the concepts and get philosophical or theoretical with it all you want. But if you're using the Bible as your authority, and it doesn't say anything but that those terms are used for basically the same thing, even used in parallel sequence for the same thing, wisdom in Proverbs 8, how much time do you really want to spend doing that? I mean, it's up to you. But see, what I'm saying is, whether it's begotten or created or some other issue, like how many persons are there in the one God? If the Bible directly, explicitly tells you that, well, why go any further? See, so for example, Trinitarians can't have a created or begotten temporal sense Son of God. They can't have it. Not because the Bible says that's not possible, or the Bible says you can't have a Son of God who's created, who then became a man and gave himself as the last Adam to save us, according to God's purpose. They can't have a real firstborn son of God because they don't believe that's enough. They think there's something wrong with a created pre-human Jesus. They do. They really think that's like a problem. But where does it say that? You see what I'm saying? Where does the Bible ever suggest that a perfect, sinless, firstborn spirit creation of God is not good enough to become a perfect man and give his life for us? It never says that. It talks about humans, right? Sinful humans not being able to save anyone. But that's not what we ever are talking about, is it? When we talk about the firstborn Son of God. So, you see where I'm going? If you can simplify things, and that's really what we're about, right? I mean, we've done a lot of it, or I've done a lot of it. I know a lot of you have. We're prepared. We're not scared. But how much do we want to go there with people who just don't care? Right? And if they cared, why aren't they just accepting the explicit teaching of the Bible? Right? So if the Bible uses, again, these terms begotten and created in parallel sequence, and as if there's no difference, even defines firstborn for us in a non-figurative sense as the beginning of one's generative power, and Jesus is called the beginning of God's creation and the firstborn, without any other teaching that suggests that's a problem, then you see, the Bible's just not good enough for some people. I know they don't all think that, and not everyone who argues, for example, for the Trinity or for a difference between begotten and created comes right out and acts like or even thinks that they don't care what the Bible says. But it's just like with certain other groups, right? We talk about Trinitarians, Catholics, Watchtower members, Mormons. Almost all of those people would tell you they care. But we can't see into their heart, right? We really don't know beyond what we can see and hear, and we like to believe in people. We want people to care. But if it's right there, you know what I'm saying? It's explicitly stated in the text that we all accept, and the thing that they reject, whether it's one person as the one God or a difference between created and begotten, if that's not in those accepted texts, maybe they don't care as much as they should. And that's not for us to decide, but it is for us to determine in relation to what we're going to do when it comes to spending time with those kind of people. And there's still a lot that we can benefit from people who disagree with us. I talk with people like that all the time, but I will always go back to what I'm telling you right now. And that is, how much do we want to spend our time trying to convince people who can read, right, who can see what we can see? They just don't believe. Not yet. Maybe someday. Right? Maybe there's things we can do with people who don't share our beliefs in other ways. But, you get to a point where you start talking about these things a lot. And really, for me, it's as simple as, what does the Bible explicitly state? And so I think that solves so many problems when it comes to issues like begotten or create.